my soul so weary. When troubles come and my heart burdened be, then I am still and wait here in the silence until you come and sit a while with me. You raise me up so I can stand on mountains. You raise me up to walk on stormy seas. I am strong when I am on your shoulders. You raise me up to more than I can be.
Good morning, everyone. Eva is with us, but I think she's still at work. So I'll read the schedule. We have Shabd by Anonymous, and the title is As is the hukam of your command, so do things happen. And then there is jokes by our dear brother Rishi. Can't wait. And then there is a talk by Dr. Chand. The topic is learning free will. Then there is a few words from me. And then we will listen to our Holy Father, Ishwar Ji, enjoy his words and melt into his love all together. So let's start with the Shabd by Anonymous.
राधा स्वामी टू ऑल बानी गुरु अर्जुन देव जी। ज्यों ज्यों तेरा हुक्म तिवै त्यों हो बड़ा, ज्यों ज्यों तेरा हुक्म तिवै त्यों हो बड़ा, जह जह रखे आप तह जाए खड़ो बड़ा, जह जह रखे आप तह जाए खड़ो बड़ा, ज्यों ज्यों तेरा हुक्म तिवै त्यों हो बड़ा, नाम तेरे के रंग दुर्मत धो बड़ा, जप जप तुध निरंकार परम भाव खो बड़ा, ज्यों ज्यों तेरा हुक्म तिवै त्यों जो तेरे रंग रते सो जून न जो बड़ा अंतर बाहर एक नैण अलो बड़ा ज्यों ज्यों तेरा हुक्म तिवै त्यों हो बड़ा जिन्नी पछाता हुक्म तिन कदे नरो बड़ा नाओ नानक बख्शीस मन माहे परो बड़ा ज्यों ज्यों तेरा हुक्म तिवै त्यों हो बड़ा ज्यों ज्यों तेरा हुक्म तिवै त्यों हो बड़ा तिवै त्यों हो बड़ा। Thank you for the seva. Radha Swamiji.
Wow, thank you, Master, for Anonymous. Such godly voice and beautiful words. I cannot be described, and so much love. Thank you, really, Master, for Anonymous. And the words that she was saying, that everything is the hukam of the command of the Master. And those who live in his command, they never weep. Such beautiful, beautiful words. Those who live in the hukam of the Master, in his commands, they never weep. That's just the whole path of spirituality. So now we welcome our very dear brother, Rishi. Can't wait for your jokes. You are muted. Oh, no, no, yeah, I hear you.
You hear me? Okay, great. Hello, everyone. Have a great weekend. I wish you all love, grace, blessings, and I have a couple of jokes for you guys. Okay, I'll start. Okay. A four-year-old boy was asked to give thanks before a dinner. The family members bowed their heads in expectation. He began his prayer, thanking God for all his friends, naming them one by one. Then he thanked God for mommy, daddy, brother, sister, grandma, grandpa, and all his aunts and uncles. Then he began to thank God for the food. He gave thanks for the turkey, the dressing, the fruit salad, the cranberry sauce, the pies, the cakes, even the Cool Whip. Then he paused, and everyone waited and waited. After a long silence, the young fellow looked up at his mother and asked, "If I thank God for the broccoli, won't he know that I'm lying?" Okay, and the second one. A 70-year-old man was fishing in his boat the other day when he heard a voice say, "Pick me up." He looked around and could not see anyone. He thought he was dreaming when he heard the voice say it again, pick me up. He looked in the water, and there, floating on top, was a frog. The man said, "Are you talking to me?" And the frog said, "Yes, I am talking to you. Pick me up and then kiss me, and I will turn into the most beautiful woman you have ever seen. I'll make sure that all your friends are envious and jealous because I will be your bride." The man looked at the frog for a short time. He reached over, picked up the frog carefully, and placed it in his front pocket. The frog said, "What? Are you crazy? Didn't you hear what I said? I said, kiss me, and I will be your beautiful bride." He opened his pocket and he looked at the frog and said, "Nah, at my age, I'd rather have a talking frog." Thank you, everyone.
At my age, I'd rather have.
I'd rather have a talking frog.
Oh, talking. Thank you. Thank you so much. Wow. Just brings us back to the times of Master and the jokes. Thank you so much. Okay, now we have our dear brother, Dr. Chand, doing the holy dance for us. You are muted, Dr. Chand.
Thank you very much, Michael. Thanks a lot. And nice jokes, you know, how Rishi does it. That's great. Now it is another joke is the topic today. And the topic today is free will. You know, it's something wonderful to understand, and this is a big, big joke. That how Ishwar Puriji explained about the free will, that once we entered the domain of time and material, then it was all that, you know, we lost our areas of free will and we just agreed, we decided to look into this experience of time and material, and that was the only free will we took. Otherwise, in the basic region, we've been enjoying this free will and loving and being loved. That was the will. The beginning of the whole thing is that in the stride of bliss, he felt like loving, and to love it became from one to many. So we all been loving him and he been loving us. And that was our will. And whatever way we wanted to love was a free will. We've been enjoying that. But then looking at the time and material game which we wanted to experience, we rather agreed for a predestined life. And that's how to experience this time-bound creation. We started going through it. But there is no free will here. And this is how we selected the DVD, as Ishwar Puriji says, and we decided that how to go through it. You know, it is a very systematic DVD that we created the first life as amoeba. And from that single cell, we started graduating. And it is part of the will that we wanted to enter this. And all this is predestined. And there is no other free will other than going back. Now, my mother tells me that you have got 75% is predestined and only 25% that you do your karmas here. But then these karmas are again, you know, trapping you into predestined, because you are doing those karmas and to reap a better life, or a bad life is all depends upon the laws of nature, that every action has got an equal and opposite reaction. So we started all this and we got into it, and we don't have a free will here. It is only one will that if we want to go back, that's the only free will we have. Otherwise, everything is predestined, it is happening. And luckily, the masters have told us a beautiful method to be here and to enjoy this experience. What master says, he says, go with the flow. And I say that we have got that ability to face things as they come in life. You have got an inherent ability to go through it. And, whatever has to happen will happen and is happening. So this predestined life has to be enjoyed. Even bad moments have to be enjoyed. How we really do that part depends upon that we remember that this is a dream. Only one thing which can really keep you floating. And this thing that you are going through a dream, as you buy a ticket, as Ishwar Puriji tells, that you have bought a ticket for a horror movie. And you are seeing that horror movie and paying for it. And willingly you are trying to see that. And this is something of that kind, that you have decided to be here. And this relationship with people here and all that, that's how the mind is reacting. As I say, every action has got an equal and opposite reaction. We are just going through that. Now here, if we understand this beautiful area, that we got to go with the flow, number one. And number two, that we all decided earlier. And number three, that it's a dream. Now looking into this dream is so easy. It does not take any toll on you, because at the back of your even all this information has to go to the mind. That mind should know that you are going through a dream here. And this education to the mind will keep it little low. It won't do all that, that turmoil will not be there. You can peacefully look at that and still smilingly pass through this. As I can see my mother's face, that all the time she has got that smiling face. And something similar I can see in Michael also. He keeps smiling with his things. Whatever happens in life happens, it will happen. So allow that to happen and just use the divine attributes to go through it. Because if you can remember that you are divine, now who is going to remember? It is your mind. That mind has to be educated to remember that you are divine. And then you have got certain divine attributes. Just live on those attributes, because all those attributes of your mind are not sustainable, my dear. Every time we talk on this, lust, anger, ego, attachment, deceit, fears, and worries are not sustainable. And they are temporary. So once that feel comes in, that this is going to pass, and let it pass, because it can't do any damage to your soul. Of course, if the mind is spinning and trying to make you worried, that is what will spoil your body. The health will get spoiled. So the mental health is all the time needed, which we can't have, And that's how we all feel that things are at the mercy of the masters, And if they make us feel that the master is all the time with us, now that simple feeling which we get out of the satsang, that he's in there within us. And as you've very nicely been told many, many times, that once you rise above, then at that level, you know you and the master are the same. And as you go up further, you further know that you are that. Now, understanding this part, that it is only information. Mind is only information, my dear. And now if you can make your mind understand that the free will is only one, and for that we sit in meditation, we start working on it, and gradually we get that feel, you know. In meditation, we start knowing because we are watching from up above. We can see things, you know. As you rise above, go to the top, you can see the whole valley from there. So you can see your whole life, which is going through those ups and downs, and then you are still there. Your soul is permanent, and as an witness, you are just witnessing how mind and body are playing this game. And since the attention is a single sensor of all your senses, that's what I believe, that the same attention through the eyes, through the ears, smelling, tasting, touching, etc. is the same. Now, if you rise above these sense perceptions, then you can pass through any kind of turmoils of life. And that is what is so simple, that the Shabad, if you get connected to the Shabad, it really makes you do that. It's that simple. But it is very difficult for people who cannot convince their mind, because mind is all the time creating those doubts. And these doubts again drag you down. And that is what it rather spins your attention, and then it further makes you feel bad about situations. Now, how happily we can pass through this is an area. And the free will is that you stop everything, just get involved into that Simran, which has got a tremendous amount of meaning for you, that you are coming out of darkness to light, that you are a soul. You've got an acquired mind and a created body. So this mind is trying to use you all the time. And the free will is that we can allow the soul to rule these fellows. How we can do that? If the mind is given that education. And to tell that mind, gradually with all those experiences of life, finally the mind, gives away. He gets so sad. And then the progress on spirituality starts happening. Once we are against the wall and we are at that corner where we can't do anything. And there, if the perfect living master appears in your life, he tells you that you are that soul which cannot be burned, which cannot drown, which is all the time connected to its source, and it is always blissful. But since this acquired mind and created body is bothering you, so simply you allow that soul to run this mind and body, then the whole thing becomes so easy. It becomes a good experience that you can really enjoy this good and bad. So the free will is only one, my dear, that we decide to go back. And once we start working on it, giving more of our time to satsang, to understand this, to sit in meditation and really seriously look into different stages, that how we rise above the body consciousness, how to rise above the sense perceptions, and then go to the causal region where you all decided. And with this free will, you can go and change. I could listen very good satsangs of Ishwar Ji even yesterday. In this satsang, he was mentioning about free will. So I think with these satsangs which we are conducting here, Michael is taking a lot of interest here. So I think all the satsangis here should understand this part, that there is only one way. Saint said you can leave 1,000 jobs and sit in meditation. Something very, at the level of the mind, you can't agree to this, that this can happen, that you leave all your jobs and sit in meditation. But the saints have said this because those problems are spinning you and you are worried about those things. So if you sit in the meditation, immediately the intuitions will come. And these intuitions will guide you how to really live nicely. These intuitions come all of a sudden. Mind has to think pros and cons and then come up onto a decision. And this decision the mind will bring is predestined, my dear. As the earth is revolving, it is something similar. It is predestined for that solar eclipse. It is predestined for the weathers to come. Now, this is all is happening continuously. And this is what, if we can understand the mind, which is organizing the whole movement, as I say, that the universal mind, through gravitational magnetic fields, is operating the whole cosmos in a predestined manner. And your mind is connected with the universal mind, which really manages your accounts. Every action has got an equal and opposite reaction. So this is what your mind will run your body as the universal mind through all those fields is running the whole cosmos in a predestined movement. The seas, they do that high tide, low tide is all predestined. They will tell you the timings of the high tide and the low tide. It is all predestined, my dear. Your body has got 75-80% water in it. The same high tide, low tide effects here. And many a times I feel that these mood swings happen. And these swinging of my moods depends upon all those predestined areas. High tide, low tide is operating and pushing my components of my brain to act accordingly, which reflects in my behavior. And that is how it is happening. And now if I can know this part, now you got to quietly allow this to happen. And then you sit in meditation for a while. All of a sudden, the intuitions will come and then you work accordingly. I remember an instance in my life when I was with the Russian Academies of Sciences. I was sitting there and I never knew the subject because I was asked to deliver a keynote address on spiritual yoga. And I was not knowing because they were working on it. So I closed my eyes, meditated for a few seconds. Immediately a beautiful sentence descended because it all comes from there. How it comes, that sentence I would like to repeat. I had told you earlier also in one of my talks. That sentence came that the spiritual yoga, because the conference was on yoga and they were trying to know more on it. And I was to deliver a keynote address on that. So the total concept was to be condensed in the talk. So what descended on me was that the spiritual yoga deals with the knowledge how to have interaction with the energy that runs the human system. And at the time of death, this energy leaves the human body. This energy is part of absolute intelligence and a capable force that runs the whole cosmos. So I'll repeat that the spiritual yoga deals with the knowledge how to have interaction with the energy that runs this human system, and this energy leaves the human body at the time of death, and this energy is part of absolute intelligence and a capable force that runs the whole cosmos. I remember the interpreters asked me to repeat it few times. I repeated it for 7 times there, I remember. And every time those Russian scientists been trying to explain to the remaining 35 top scientists of Russia on this, what I'm trying to say. And at last they appreciated that I have opened up the subject in a beautiful manner. They had about 17 different projects. So they said, this project in yoga should be the first one, how to have interaction with the energy. And this is a beautiful understanding. How it happened, the intuitions came in. I was facing this problem that what I'll tell them. So to top scientists of that country and to explain about spiritual yoga, I was in a big fix. So my mind was spinning that it will be a big insult for the country, where all this knowledge has originated and I'm not able to say anything about it. Closed my eyes for a while and immediately this sentence descended on me. So now this is a practical example what I can tell you from my life, that those intuitions will solve your problems. It may be of any kind, I'm sure. This is how it works. So this is how then, as the conference was progressing, the scientists told that let us now not waste any more time in 3 days conference. So let us start talking about, you please let us know how to have this interaction. I was in a big fix again, that what to tell them. Again closed my eyes and something started descending, because the language comes from beyond, Then the soul receives that and the mind contaminates that language, the body further contaminates, and that's how it comes out. As I explained in one of my talks, that the language comes from beyond, para, it comes to this area, the area of the head, which has got the seat of the soul behind the eyes, seat of the mind in between the eyes, above the nose, which runs into past and future, and the seat of your brain. This location is known as Pashanti. So from para, the language comes to this region. Then the mind, which is running your system through magnetic gravitational fields, high tide, low tide, it triggers your brain. The electrical movements go through your body, the body language gets formed, then it goes to the central diaphragm between the lungs and the stomach. This diaphragm moves, small puffs of air through the lungs, through trachea, through larynx, and through the mouth, the language comes out, which has got pollution at 2 levels, at the level of the mind and at the level of the body. But if you allow that intuition to flow as it is, these are the divine attributes. And this is what is your free will, which you can. Because if you want your attention, you can give it to the mind to spin you further. You can give it to your body to rule you, to make you a slave. So it is our prerogative how we can really. This is what is our free will, that we allow those intuitions to come and flow from my mind and from my body and through my senses. It should flow out, it should percolate. So now this percolation happens once we use this free will to allow the intuitions to come. They'll make the whole passage so easy for our life, you know. So then I am really surprised to tell you that on that day, that how to have interaction with this energy, when the scientists asked me this, I could talk for more than 2.5 hours on the subject. I never knew from where this language is flowing in. I was trying to tell them, look, we have got many senses in our body. We can see, smell, you know, taste, hearing abilities, touching abilities. So these are some of the, you know, these are some of those basic instincts which we have got. But then I said, there is one more, and that one more is your attention. And we have to use this attention to find out this particular area from where we can do interaction with the absolute. And where this particular location is, beautifully explained, that these two eyes have got two optical nerves running in. They join at a place where the ears are also connected in that straight line. I have heard Ishwar Ji also talking the same thing. So that's the location where your seeing and listening ability is there. And if you start listening what the absolute is saying, then it helps you. Because those intuitions, you got to put all your attention into seeing and listening. And at that point, if you withdraw your attention, it starts happening. So once the new sentences started flowing in, that how this attention operates, as I was explaining them, how the attention is continuously blinking on material issues of the world related with time and material of this body, downwards and outwards into the world through the senses of the body. So now look how that omniscanner, your attention, which is going through that mind, which has got tremendous amount of informations, it passes through that, then it further passes through 100 trillion cells of your body, then it passes through all the senses of the body, goes downwards and outwards into the world. Whatever you had seen, whatever you have smelled, tasted, touched, or heard, your attention is spreading out. And it is spreading everywhere. It can go to all those areas, even your childhood. Sometimes I explain. You can remember your school, your old friends. You can remember that building where you were hiding, hide and seek game you were playing in your school. So this is how this attention, which is really flowing in, can bring in all that wisdom. And wisdom is how to use information and knowledge. So this is what is the free will, that we can use this as our free will to give attention or not to give attention to the mind or to the body. Or we can give it to the absolute to receive intuitions to run our life. So let the soul get liberated. We can liberate the soul, and this is what is your free will in your hands, which you should use to live here for that small little time frame of approximately 100 years. So in this small little time frame, because the creation started 13.7 billion years, I say, your solar system started about 4 billion years ago, and life started certain millions of years, from a single cell to graduate here. But all this is a dream, another era. Tremendous amount of knowledge has been given through Sant. Now, all of us here should understand this part, that there is only one free will to go back or to get connected with your source while we are living here. That's the only one free will we are left with. Otherwise, when we entered the game, the domain of time and material, it is all predestined, my dear. Once you sit in what you call that roller coaster, it is all pre-decided that you will sit and it will have so many ups and downs. And after so much of time, giving you all those thrills, fears, and joys and everything, your adrenaline levels will go up and down. And this is all is pre-decided, that roller coaster, something like that. So this life is like that only. We are on a roller coaster. Things will keep on happening one after the other. So if you know this, that during this period, instead of getting into distress, you just look from that angle, that you are that divine, you are that attention. Just keep watching and enjoying that. Don't get trapped into fears and worries. No worries. Because you have already known how to die 8.4 million times. You have got the experience of death. So biggest fear is your death. And there is no fear. So we should be that ready. Now, at the same time, if we are connected, then that energy which organizes the whole cosmos can organize this small little body, since it is managing the whole thing, billions of light years away, it is managing everything. So small little management, one of the rays, that silver cord will keep on managing this body perfectly well. And that is what gives us a wonderful area. Now, I have talked about this in this manner to tell you the free will, that you put your attention into your source and allow that source to run your system. This is what is the best area. Now, I think, on the screen I can see Heather Davis, that sometimes she keeps on writing. When I'm talking, she's writing on a book, So I would like that she should, whatever she writes, she should send it so that all others can really understand that. And I would also like to get that feedback on my email so that I should know that what you have understood out of these talks. This will help me that how I can really tell others also, because I talk at various levels, the students to the schools, So your understanding will help us that how you are making these notes, and these notes must be reminding you of all these talks. And I would request you that you can ask Michael about my email and send me all this, and let us all share together. Because I remember Mr. Phelps, somebody really gave me the reference of Mr. Phelps' book also. And he said that all the satsangis should interact with each other to sort out small little problems of meditation. that how they understand things, how we understand things. Even Vishesh Ji talks about Anurag Sagar, and that is one of the methods to understand things. And today, Vishesh Ji informed that Prempal Ji is now out of his problems, his surgery been successful, and we all pray for him. To tell him that get well soon. And I say that wherever the attention goes, the divine energy flows. So if our attention is there on him to help him cure, to get well faster, it will definitely do that part, because that attention does everything. It moves. It's an intelligent thing, as I say, the source, which we may call it Alak, Agam, Anam, Sachkhand, all those regions. I would like to say that absolute intelligence and a capable force in bliss. So we are all part of that, and we must remain in bliss. This is what is our free will, which we can always use. And this attention can really cure everyone. So let's see that how this attention helps us all to bring this new education system for the children on which we've been working for the last 27 years. I hope things will mature gradually. Then I'll send all these informations to share with all of you so that you can give in your good ideas to really take it forward. And that will be something wonderful. Thank you very much for today's opportunity, for today's seva. Thank you very much. Thanks.
Thank you, Dr. Chand. You always give us great talks, really. All your talks are beautiful. Why? Because they are charged with love, with the love of your masters. And that love is charged from within. And then whatever you say is soothing, soothing to the soul, soothing to the heart. And what is satsang? Satsang is just scooping, just taking a scoop from the ocean of love, because God is an ocean of love, truth, light, and knowledge. And we in satsang, we just take a scoop and we look every day from that ocean of knowledge. And we just try to analyze it, try to understand it, try to imbibe its benefits. So this is what it is, the words of the saints, which is an ocean of love and knowledge and priceless jewels. We scoop one scoop in satsang and we try to look at it, analyze it, and try to really live up to it. It's easy to read, but it's hard to live to. For if we live up to these words, if we really live up to these words, and it could be just one sentence, this sentence, if we live up to it, it will take us to totality, really. I was reading this morning. There is this saint. I don't even know how to pronounce his name, but he is on YouTube. Nisagadata. But he has beautiful, beautiful words, and and I was trying to read these words, and I'm like, wow, they're just the message of truth. I should say some of them in satsang, and we could just. I want to read like few of those sentences, of knowledge, truth, and love, and see like how if we just live up to one sentence, this is it. This is the whole path of spirituality, that we can become
Michael,
one.
you are doing a lot of seva, because this scoop, as you mentioned, the every time the ice cream fellow will take out that scoop out of that ice cream bundle, and then serve it. So basically here in satsang, you are doing all that. And I think the seva to humanity is this only, and we are all doing it because the nature is serving everyone. As I say that the mango seed is producing mangoes, not for itself, for all others. And Michael, you are doing a great job. You read all those things of different masters, how they explain. Now, whatever you were going to explain, please do that. Thank you. Thank you.
Okay. And hello to everyone. There's Anu, Pardevi, Dietrich. They're all meditating together. So hello to all. Heather and yes. So okay, let me read to you. Where is it? Untitled. Okay. So this one, it says, detach yourself from all that makes your mind restless. Renounce all that disturbs its peace. Wow, see this sentence. Detach yourself from all that makes your mind restless. Renounce all that disturbs its peace. And this comes with our introspection and seeing what's disturbing our mind. And then when we know what it is, knowing the problem is half the solution, really. Just to know the problem is half the solution, because the solution comes from Master. And Master, when we tell him that we have a problem, this is causing me restlessness of my mind, and we give it to Master. First, we have to recognize it and want it out of our life. And then that's half the problem, to recognize it. And then the other half the other half is the solution, and that comes from Master. So we give him our worries, our problems, and our mind restlessness. But we have to dive deep and see what causes this restlessness, what disturbs our peace. And then again, he says, if you want peace, deserve it. If you want peace, deserve it. Wow, we have to deserve peace. So we have to do the effort that becomes effortless, ends up in grace, and ultimately, when we have a pure mind, we get peace. So if you want peace, deserve it. By being a slave to your desires and fears, you disturb your peace. You disturb peace. By being a slave to your desires and fears, you disturb peace. So there is peace inside each one of us. And that peace is always there. But when the mind gets involved and it becomes a slave to the desires and fears, then we disturb that existing peace inside of us. So beautiful, so beautiful. Oh, let's see. Now he's saying, sadhana is a search for what to give up. Empty yourself completely. So really, the path of spirituality is a search of what to give up. What to give up that takes us away from God. Empty yourself completely and let God be the ultimate resident. Okay, then he says, true happiness cannot be found in things that change and pass away. Pleasure and pain alternate inexorably. So he's saying true happiness cannot be found in things that change and pass away. So everything that changes, we cannot find happiness. And happiness is always found in the unchangeable. And what is unchangeable? Permanence, as the saints teach us. The unchangeable permanence is beyond time and space. Beyond time and space is unchangeable permanence, and true happiness can be found there, not in things that change. Happiness comes from the self and can be found in the self only. Wow, happiness comes from the self, the soul, and can be found in the self only, happiness. Find yourself, and all else will come with it. Wow. Find yourself, and all else come with it. Finding our true self. Seek ye first the kingdom of God, and everything else shall be added unto you. Once we find the self, we become complete. Let's see. What did Stephen? 1 second. Somebody send me a message. Can we go back? Oh, something not related. Okay. The unchangeable can only be realized. Silence. The unchangeable can only be realized in silence. And that is when we meditate. Have you ever reached a state where you are meditating, and then like there is a place where we touch, where we go into, where the thoughts are calm, and we start to like withdraw from the body and just tap into peace, and the sound is there, and we don't want it to change. We just want to stay there. We just want to stay in that peace. When the mind is calm, the soul starts to wake up, but there is a feeling of peace, love, and that feeling of peace and love, we don't want to come out of it. And then the alarm rings that, hey, it's time to get out of meditation. This was this morning. I did not want to get up. I just wanted to stay in that peace, in that calmness, in that love, and just so comforting, so comforting. And that is why we meditate. We meditate to reach that point of peace inside of us, where once we touch peace inside of us, and then love, because everything is included inside. Everything is included inside of us. When you find the self, you find everything. Everything is included inside of us. And when we start to just close our eyes and be with the Shabd, with Master, and then that Shabd gives us the peace. It supplies us with the peace, the joy, the happiness, and we don't want to leave that stage, that floor, or we have reached inside of us. We want to stay there because we are calm and we are getting nourished. It's like a baby on his mom's bosom, and he is sucking. And when the baby is sucking from his mom's breast, he's getting all nourishments. He's feeling security. He's feeling love. He's feeling the warmth, and he's feeling the love. And that's what it is to meditate. To meditate is to suck the holy light, the holy sound, the bread of life, the water of life from God's bosom, that we are in the lap of Master, and he's supplying us with the warmth, with the love, with the peace, and with everything we need, really. Everything we need is supplied to us. Then when we get out from that stage, unfortunately, and we have to deal with our karma, then we are fortified with whatever we were supplied with. It fortifies us. It makes our life so enjoyable, so easy. And the soul stays dancing because it got the food. When somebody is fed, is well fed, he can go around. But if somebody is hungry, he's always suffering. So to feed every day from the bosom of God, the breast of God, the manna of life and the water of life is a necessity for happiness. Is a necessity for happiness, because then when we feed every day from the breast of Mother God, then we have energy. We have energy, and then we can go on with our life easy, happily, with peace, with joy, and with feeling the presence of God in our life. Let's see. Once realized, it will deeply affect the changeable, itself remaining unaffected. Once we realize the self, then we can change things, but us, we will not be affected. That is why when we grow in God, we become powerful in God. Then anybody in this world that can come with any type of negativity and throw it on us, it will not affect us. It will not affect us because we have reached a place of unchangeable permanence. We cannot be affected, but we can affect things. With the power of God inside of us, we can affect, because love changes everything. Love is the strongest weapon, and love changes everything. And that's, I think, what he's saying. Oh, this, and then he's saying, inquire, investigate, doubt yourself and others to find truth. You must not cling to your convictions. If you were sure of the immediate, you will never reach the ultimate. So what he's saying, like Master is saying, he investigated Baba Sawan Singh. He doubted. He looked at other paths and doubt yourself and others to find the truth, is what he is saying. It's okay to doubt. It's okay. It's okay to look and seek more and not to take things just the way they are and not just to go within and verify everything. It's good to do that. Where was I? Your idea that you were born and that you will die is absurd. Both logic and experience contradict it. Wow. Your idea that you were born and that you will die is absurd. Both logic and experience contradict it. What is the experience? The experience of learning how to die so you can begin to live. Once we learn how to die daily, then the death is removed. Death is removed, and the idea that we are born and that we will die, because we are eternal. We are eternal. We have been there since time began. We came out of God. And what is death? It's a new life. And to be born is just a new experience. So death, what is death? Is just something ends here, another door opens. And that is what death is. And being born is being born into an experience where we are the experiencer, not the experience. So that's why being born and dying is all part of the illusion. So beautiful, so beautiful. Because most people of the world are like so scared from death. And really death is just to get rid of this prison house, the physical body. Then there is another death inside to get rid of the astral body, and another death to get rid of our causal body, and then to realize ourselves as pure soul. Let's see. Find what is that never sleeps and never wakes, and whose pale reflection is our sense of I. What never sleeps and never wakes? That is the soul. That is God inside of us. As He's watching us, whether we are sleeping or whether we are awake. So He's saying, find what that is that never sleeps and never wakes. And what never sleeps and what never wakes is the inner master, the Gurudev, that always is watching us, always is nourishing us. Find that. He never sleeps, he never wakes, he's always there. Let's see. How do you go about finding anything? By keeping your mind and heart on it. There must be interest and steady remembrance. Wow, this is also a satsang by itself. How do you go about finding anything? By keeping your mind and heart on it. By keeping our attention on it, we will find it. Whatever, since we are creators, because the power of God is inside of us, whatever we put our attention on, we make it alive. We make it alive, and then we can find, by keeping our attention, we can find whatever we want to find. And that is by having first the interest to find it, and then by steady remembrance. Steady remembrance is keeping the attention fully on what we want to attain. So if we want to attain God, we first have to have the interest that we want to find God, the yearning, and then by keeping our mind and heart on God with a steady remembrance, then we can find God. To remember what needs to be remembered is the secret of success. Wow, I love this. I love this. To remember what needs to be remembered. Because some things we don't need to remember. some experiences of our life, some past experiences of our life, we don't need to remember. But to remember what needs to be remembered. What needs to be remembered? Our moments with the Master. Our moments with the Master are the greatest gift to God, to us. Those moments we had with our Holy Father. Those moments, like we played in the beginning of Satsang, we played the video of Master. You raise me up with that song. You raise me up, and all his children, smiling faces around him, and he is walking like a king of kings. King of kings, an undisputed king of kings, undisputed king of kings, wearing the royal crown of God himself. If you ever want to wear the royal crown of God, you have to wear master shoe on your head as a crown. Wear master shoe on your head as a crown, and ultimately, that humility will bring the real crown, the crown of crowns, the crown of Satpursh, and that is when we merge with him. But first, we have to wear master shoe on our head as a crown. Why? Because we need to always remember that we are nothing. We need to always remember that he's the doer. We need to always remember, like the Shabd in the beginning, that everything is his hukum. Everything is under his command. Wherever he puts us, we have to always remember that we are under the leash of God, that Master has us on a leash. Like Kabir said, I want to be God's dog. And he was always on a leash. And that leash, God took him with that leash wherever he wanted. So we have to always remember. So wearing Master's shoe as a crown on our head. And yesterday I was thinking about that, and I was imagining Master's shoe on my head, and it's my crown. And really, that's the biggest, the best crown we can ever have is Master's shoe on our head, because it will change us. It will change us. It will keep us remembering who we are, that we are just a drop out of the ocean. We are nothing. We are nothing. And he's the doer. He's the doer of everything. We have to always remind ourselves. In this way, the ego gets crushed. Once the ego is crushed, because the ego is the last thing to go. Once the ego is crushed, wow, there must be a great feeling when the ego is removed. And I don't know that feeling because I'm still in the process, but I can't wait. I just feel what's behind the ego. I have like a deep feeling of the love that exists beneath the layer of ego inside of us. Wow, imagine. Once the full surrenderance comes, that ego is removed, we're going to be tapping into a treasure house of God that is unfathomable, unexplainable, cannot be described. Agam, Anami, and Alak. That's what it is. That the ego has to go. So always wear the crown of Master's shoe on your head. I should go get the shoe and put it on my head. I have it. Okay. Okay, that's all what I wanted to say for today. And I thank Master for the seva. And I will play now our Holy Father. More love from him coming in his words, in his satsang. So enjoy.
Friends, I am very happy to be here in the Sunshine State. I just heard in Kaunas, Lithuania, it's already snowing. 5 centimeters of snow is on the ground. In Chicago, yesterday, it was in 22 degrees Fahrenheit. It's nice to be in this nice warm weather here. I have come here to meet you, friends, and to share with you some of the teachings that I learned from the great master Hazur Maharaj Baba Sawan Singh, whose picture you see here. Teachings were very simple. Today, I was asked to speak on the fundamentals of good meditation. If I have to speak on that subject, my speech will take no more than 5 seconds. All I have to say is, good meditation requires that before you meditate, you place yourself at the third eye center behind the eyes, and the second part is, you must meditate with love and devotion. My talk is over. That's all that's needed. If we can understand the simple principle that we are looking for ourselves in meditation, we're trying to discover who we are, our real self, not the body, not even the inner body, not even the inmost body, which we call the mind. These 3 bodies are covers upon ourselves. They are not ourself. Our self is an immortal unit of consciousness called the soul that is not born, does not die, is immortal, and all the stories about our true nature are about the soul, which is hiding inside these 3 bodies. The outermost body, the physical body, is the one that creates a physical experience for us and gives us an idea of a material physical world around. And that is why, while we are in this physical body, our only reality is a material physical reality outside of us. Inside this body is the astral body. We call it astral body. It might be more appropriate to call it the body with sense perceptions, which works for sensory perceptions. That means the power to perceive through senses, which we are ascribing to the organs of this body, actually belongs to the inner body. If the inner body does not function, this body cannot have any sensory perception. We think we see with these eyes in the physical body. But when we are sleeping, even if the eyes are open, we don't see. Obviously, seeing is something different from seeing with these eyes. On the other hand, we can see things in imagination. Those pictures we see in imagination, things we can remember in memory, and even by closing our eyes, we can see them. Obviously, the physical eyes have nothing to do with it. So those perceptions that can be created by inner eyes, inner ears, inner hands, inner sense of smell, all those are inside, and those constitute the astral body. It's just a body, it's a function. It performs this function and continues to perform this function even when we are embedded in the physical body. But we begin to believe that the physical organs are the ones responsible for these sensory perceptions, because we do not have any experience of the inner body separating from this physical body. They overlay each other, therefore we don't see any difference. But if we could separate it, if we could separate our astral body, the sensory body, from this, and just separate and put it aside, what is called an outer body experience, we could look at this body like just a piece of flesh. It's just a structure, external structure. It's like a costume we are wearing. One little experience of getting out of this body and looking back upon this body changes our entire perspective on what this body can do or what it cannot do. Therefore, our belief that the physical body is our own reality, ourself, is a mistaken one, because inside this, the sensory body operates to create all our perceptions, even those we are seeing with our physical eyes and physical sense perceptions. Later today, I'll try to have a very short experiment with you to see if the sense perceptions belong to an inner body or they belong to the physical body. If you are ready, any of you are ready, we'll do some little experiential things so that it doesn't remain merely talk. Inside the sensory body lies another body. We call it the causal body. The reason why it's called the causal body is because all events that have ever happened or will happen are being caused by that body. The other name given for that body is the mind. The thinking mind is not really ourself. It's also a body. The mind itself is a body. We wear the mind just like we wear the physical body. We wear a mind, and on top of it we wear the sensory perceptions. On top of it we wear this physical body. These are three costumes we are wearing one upon the other. Why are we wearing these costumes? Why don't we go about in our true spirit, in the structure of our soul? The reason is each one of these covers gives us a different experience. And we like to have a variety of experiences. Why do we want experiences? Because we are conscious beings. You cannot be conscious unless you have something to be conscious of. Consciousness survives on something there to be conscious of. Otherwise, consciousness has no meaning. When we say he's conscious, conscious of what? If you're conscious of nothing, then consciousness ceases to exist. Therefore, we wear these bodies to generate a variety of experiences. And they are so different from each other and in such great variety that if you personally experiment through meditation, you can experience all these different experiences of each one of these costumes one by one. It's not necessary to just speculate on what is there. Meditation, good, effective meditation, helps us to go personally within ourselves and expose the other bodies, inside bodies, and not have the awareness of the body outside. How do we lose the awareness of the outer cover? It's very simple. When we die, we leave the cover here anyway. Death takes away this cover, and the physical body dies. We move around in the astral body anyway. We look at our dead body. And those who have had near-death experiences, they tell us they could see their body even before they fully died, that they had already pulled out enough to be able to see lying on a surgical table with a surgeon around or sitting somewhere else, and they are watching from outside. But to die in order to find out that you have an inner body is not a very good experiment. I mean, it's something that happened to all of us. How can we know it while we are alive in this body? To know that we have an inner body that will survive after death and has a much longer life than this body. It was born much earlier than this body, will die much later than this body. It has its own lifespan. To discover this, while we are in this body, we have to do something different than physical death. We have to die while living. Therefore, true meditation has been called the process of dying while living. That means you can pull the attention away from this body and have the same experience you will have when physical death takes place, but while you are still alive, which is a very great experience for many reasons. One is you discover that you are not this body, that you were there earlier than this body. You will be there after you die. You don't depend on books for that. You depend on your own experience for that. And secondly, you will never be afraid of death after that, because you know where you go when you die in this body. It's a very big achievement not to be afraid of death. And you'll also find out that when you lose the fear of death, you lose all fear. Because most of our fears are fears of the unknown. We don't know what will happen. And that's why we are afraid. There are only two things that create fear. One, the unknown. Second, doubt. If you're doubtful about something, you are afraid. Now, doubt and fear are being created automatically in us through the third body, which is called the mind. The mind has a thinking process. And by thinking, it creates doubts. We think it resolves doubts. On the other hand, it creates doubts. I have seen people who say, we are very certain of something. I say, think more about it. And after some time, they say, we are not so sure. The thinking mind can create a doubt almost on anything. Why is it possible for the mind to create doubts? Because the mind does not have access to all knowledge. It only operates on what is in front of it. It only operates with the limited knowledge it has in front of it. And because it doesn't know everything, certainly doesn't know the future, doesn't know what is around the corner, it is always in a state of lack of knowledge, and therefore the unknown comes up and creates doubt and fear. So the mind is actually the creator of doubt and fear. If we can see how the mind functions, which is just a body, which means if we can really die in the inner body, die in our sensory body, while we are alive in the physical and sensory body, we can see exactly what the mind is, how it operates. It's just a machine. It's an accessory attached to us. It is not ourselves. We mistakenly say, I think. We never think. We make our mind think. We never say, my mind thinks like this. That's the true statement. The truth is, whenever we think, we are employing a computer-like machine inside us, in our head, which is called the mind. And that computer-like machine works, creates thoughts. Sometimes it creates thoughts that we direct. We tell it to think of something and start thinking like that. Sometimes it starts thinking on its own because it did not receive adequate instruction from us. When it starts thinking on its own, that is the most dangerous part of the mind, because then it starts guiding us what to do. When the mind starts guiding us, we are in terrible shape. Most of our lives are affected today because we allow the mind to guide us what to do, instead of our telling the mind what duty to perform. The mind was given to us to perform a duty. What was the duty of the mind? The duty of the mind was to interpret sense perceptions that will occur at different levels that we create with different bodies, and then to reassemble those sense perceptions and make some sense out of it, and then use a thinking process, either in words, images, or in any other logistic manner, put the images together and make sense of things. Say, yeah, that makes sense. The only functions of the mind. And that's performing very well when we instruct it to do it. If we don't instruct the mind to perform these functions, then the mind will go on randomly in a bizarre way, telling things and creating fear in us and guiding us in the wrong direction. It is such a subtle matter that we, the powerful one, we, the consciousness, which makes the mind alive. Without us, the mind dies. We that make the sensory systems alive. Without our soul, without our consciousness, senses will die. Without our consciousness, the body dies. We, the soul, the consciousness, is responsible for the life of the mind, for the life of the sense perceptions, for the life of this physical body. We are the prime trigger for all these, and we are being guided by these costumes. Nothing could be more tragic than that. We were supposed to be in control of things gifted to us. These are very great gifts, I must tell you. The physical body, the sensory perceptions, and the mind are the greatest gifts anybody could give us. And God has given us these gifts. Instead of using these gifts the way they are intended to be used, we are being duped into being slaves of these gifts. How did this happen? How come that we lost touch with our own power? We lost touch because we made a very big blunder in starting to identify ourselves with these costumes. We began to believe this body is myself. We began to believe these sensory systems are my sense perceptions with which I am seeing a world existing outside. This mind is myself. I think and decide what I want to do. I employ logic. I employ these different techniques in my mind to live. This is exactly the biggest blunder we could make, to identify ourselves with gifts that were given to us to use. We should have used our body as best as we could. Take good care of it while we have it. We don't have it for very long. The average life of a body, not even 100 years. People are dying earlier than 100 years. If some live over 120, 130, nobody lives more. It's such a short period in terms of cosmic time, where we talk of billions of years and billion of light years to see the cosmos around us. In that, what is 100 years? It's, if there was a clock and the world started at 12 o'clock, we are about 5:30 p.m. or 5:25 p.m. according to the scientists. And at 5:30 p.m., our life is just no more than a few seconds. Can you imagine? It's like a bubble that comes up and glows in the light, has colors, suddenly it goes away. Our life is like that. And yet we are putting so much on this body and thinking this is the only one to take care of, and we don't take care of it. What kind of food, junk food we dump into it? What kind of junk thoughts we dump into it? What kind of life are we leading? A temporary thing given to us to hold on and have an experience of the physical matter and material world. How are we using it? We are not making good use of it. The mistake is we think that is us. What about the inner body? The sensory body has a life of about 1,000 to 3,000 physical years. That means we have been that long and have had several bodies, maybe in different forms in the physical material world. And what are we doing with that one? We don't even know about it. We are totally locked out of our own self. What about the mind? The mind has an age in physical time of several million years, 3 or 4 million years, and then it dies. It's born and dies, like anything else. We, occupying these three, have never been born, will never die. We are the immortal consciousness that lasts forever. Our true home, from where we came, is somewhere which never is born, never dies. And where can we find it? Inside consciousness. Where is consciousness? Inside us. Inside what? Inside the physical body. Inside this astral body. Inside the mind. It's right inside. If it weren't inside, these outer covers wouldn't operate. Therefore, the entire truth that we're looking for is lying inside. In every cover, it's lying inside. Not that at some point we'll have to go find outside. So therefore, the spiritual journey, if you want to find immortality and your immortal home, the spiritual journey is the shortest journey you can perform. How far do you have to go? You start from where you think you are now. That's the starting point. You start where you believe your consciousness is now. Not your body, not your mind, not your senses. Where your consciousness is right now. Where are you listening to me from? Where are you speaking from? When you close your eyes, where do you think you are? It doesn't take very long to find out. You're not operating from your hands or your limbs or your torso. You're operating from your head. Where exactly in your head? If you are a single point of consciousness and you are spreading out from there, what point would that be? Only on a very simple introspection of one's own mind and own head, one can find out it's somewhere behind the eyes. It's somewhere in the center of the head. If I were to put my 2 fingers with the thumb, if these tips of the fingers were my eyeballs, where these 2 fingers meet, that would approximately be behind the eyes inside me. almost between the ears, a single point from where we are operating in the wakeful condition right now. If we have to find consciousness ourselves, that's the starting point. I said in the very beginning, good effective meditation starts from there. If we go around searching the rest of the body and we go into the various energy centers that lie below it, and we say we go to the heart chakra and we go to the kant chakra, the throat chakra, we go to the other chakras, right to the bottom, into all the 6 chakras and float around. We are not starting a journey on spirituality. We are starting a journey on energy experiences. That's all. Nobody has ever got spirituality by going to any of these centers, but they've got a lot of experiences of fantastic energies. Of course, fantastic energies exist all over. In fact, the fact we are held together as a physical body and are working so well, that itself is a fantastic energy. It's a fantastic miracle. And what is holding it? These 6 energy centers. They operate to hold the system together. There are similar 6 centers which are holding the astral body together, but they are not the same centers. There are similar 6 centers holding the mind and our internal consciousness together. The 18 centers. We have never explored them. Even people who want to meditate on the centers, they think the 6 are good enough. I'll share a little story. It's a little interesting because Great Master, he made his first trip to Karachi, which is now in Pakistan, in the 40s, 1941-42. I accompanied him on that trip, and so did some others. And it was a very interesting thing. My uncle was in the weather service, meteorologist in Karachi. He had a very nice house on Clifton Beach. And there he invited the Great Master to come and spend a few days, which he did. We all went there. Now my uncle and my aunt, they used to go to a Swamiji there, Swami Brahmanandji, who used to practice the various kinds of yoga, Raj Yoga, and Kundalini reversal yoga, and so on. But he also used to give Ayurvedic medicines. So my uncle and aunt, they were of course initiated by the Great Master and were following the spiritual path of going behind the eyes and above. But they would go to the Swamiji to get Ayurvedic medicines. And once the Great Master decided to come there, they told Swamiji, our master is coming from Punjab and he will be staying with us and we would like you to come and have his darshan. And Swamiji said, yes, bring him to me and I will give him my blessings. So this was a little bit of an odd reaction, but they decided how to cope up with the situation that we wanted to get the Great Master's blessings on the Swami wanted to give his blessings. So they arranged to have a lunch and put a love sofa seat. 2 people can sit on it. And they said, we'll make the Swami and Great Master sit on that and let us see how they interact with each other. So on the appointed day, Swami Brahmanandji came and he was seated on that love seat. Great Master was in the bedroom. We called him that Swamiji has come before lunch. And Great Master came and we said, please sit down. This is our Swamiji, Swami Brahmanandji. So Great Master sat down and folded his hand and said, Pranam to the Swamiji. Swamiji raised his hands like this on the head of Great Master. I give you my blessings. We watched the scene in some kind of amazement that this is some reversal going on here. After a little while, Great Master says, Swamiji, isn't it a pity that all the Swamis and Yogis are so much caught up in these 6 centers that controls our physical and astral systems, that nobody wants to go and see the 18 centers? And Swamiji looked at Great Master. He says, Master, I have never heard of these 18 centers. Can you explain to me a little bit more about these 18 centers? He said, haven't you heard that this body is called the Pinda and the astral system is called the Anda? And behind that, the mind and its higher regions are called Brahmanda. And this Pinda, Anda and Brahmanda each have 6 centers. The total of 18. Haven't you heard of it? He said, Master, I've never heard of it at all. This is something new. I'd like you to explain a little more about these higher 12 centers. I only know about the 6 centers. He said, you know, it's a very long subject, Swamiji. And if you come to the Dera in Punjab sometimes, I'll be very happy to explain it to you. Swamiji was very intrigued by this. He felt so intrigued that he had never heard of something, that he was talking of 18 centers. So when he went back, he told his followers, I am going to wind up this ashram. I am going to be asked to study those 18 centers. If I succeed, I'll come and tell you. If you want to come along with me, you can come. But I want to find out what that white-bearded man was talking about, those 18 centers. So he wound up that ashram and came to the Dera in Vyas. And I was there, I was trying to practice homeopathic medicine in those days and had a little clinic there. And the great master set up a little Ayurvedic clinic for Swamiji, so he could also do his practice there. And we would share information. When Swamiji came, great master said, Swamiji must sit next to me on the desk from where he gave discourses. So Swamiji used to wear saffron-colored robes, and he used to wear a turban, saffron turban, and a little scarf, saffron-colored, which he used to hold in his hands and walk with great pomp and show with that. In fact, I copied him once with my white scarf. It looked so good. When he came, he was given with VIP treatment. He put up in the best guest house in the Dera. And he was asked to sit next to the master when he gave a discourse. So next day, when discourse was going on, he was sitting next to the master. Master said, what a pity. These yogis are trapped in these 6 centers. They're so trapped, they don't know there is anything beyond that. Nobody has heard of the 18 centers. And Swami is looking like this at him and wondering what he's going to say next. He heard 1 or 2 discourses and then he complained to Great Master. He says, Master, I have a problem. He says, yes, Swamiji, what is your problem? He says, when I sit next to you, I have constantly to bend my head to see you, and I am getting a pain in my neck. Great Master said, I also noticed that. I think you should sit in front. So from the pedestal, Swamiji now sits in front on a special chair, low chair. Then, after 2 days, he complains. He says, Master, I have a complaint. That when I sit down, you're sitting too high up. I have to look up like this, and I've got a pain in my neck. Master said, I also noticed you have a pain in the neck. So, you should sit further 20 feet away. Then he is moved 20 feet away. Then he says, Master, I have a complaint. After 2 days, what is your complaint now, Swamiji? My complaint is you've given me chair to sit on. People behind me can't see you. He says, I also noticed that. Remove the chair. After 1 week, Swamiji is sitting like anybody else right at the back. He was asked to see the great master 24/7. Anytime he wanted, he could come and see him as a special VVIP guest. He tested it out by going at midnight one day, knocked the door. I want to see the master. Oh, yes, Swamiji, we have instructions. You can see him anytime. Wake him up. He woke up, Master. Welcome, Swamiji. What can I do for you? I came to test if I can see you anytime. 24/7. After a week, he was standing in line with the rest of us to get an interview. In 1 week, I was sitting with him one day, comparing notes on Ayurveda and homeopathy. And he said, your master is a very big diplomat. If he had told me that he'll be making me like a commoner to go and attend his discourses and stand in line to have interviews, I would never have come here. I would have gone away. He did a very clever trick. He boosted my ego by putting me on VVIP treatments, and then now I realize he has trapped me with his love. I can't go anywhere. His love has captured me because his love flows automatically from him. There is no question that what he speaks, he doesn't speak from any book. He doesn't speak from any hearsay. He speaks from direct experience. And that's what makes it so authentic. He is not telling stories like we hear from other places. He tells us what he has experienced. And therefore, it makes great sense to me. And I am going to follow exactly what he says. By the way, the Swami made great progress after that. He stayed and passed away in the Dera itself. Great guy. And I still remember. Why I brought this story in is that we are sometimes trapped even in our spiritual endeavors. We think that we can find everything in the physical body. These are just bodies. We have to find ourselves. Therefore, our effective meditation starts from behind the eyes, where we are at all times in the wakeful state. We are not there all the time. We are there only in the wakeful state. Now we are there. When we are not awake, when we are sleeping, we are not here. The focal point from where consciousness is operating is only operating behind the eyes, to look out of the eyes at the world. And wakeful state, when we go to sleep, it descends down into the same chakras. When we have a dream, it's in the throat center. The same thing that is right now behind the eyes, our own notional position shifts from the third eye center to the throat center. People say, is there any proof of that? You know, I always believe in proof. And the best proof is do it yourself. I don't believe anybody else's proof. I am a very big skeptic that way. I think spirituality should be such that you can experience yourself. And you should believe only what you experience. You don't have to disbelieve the rest because you haven't seen it. You can't say, I haven't seen it, therefore it doesn't exist. You haven't seen it. But whatever you have seen is the point up to which your belief goes. And when you see more, your belief increases. Your faith goes up. That's why I distinguish between living faith and blind faith. Blind faith is a one-time faith. You believe something somebody has said. Living faith grows every time with your experience. It grows like any other growing thing. It has a metabolic evolution of its own. And therefore, the faith that grows by every little experience that you add on, both externally and internally, that's good living faith. And that's what one should have. So when we go to let's try today meditation behind the eyes with love and devotion, where you visualize your beloved and you express your love to the beloved in the best way you can and see the results of it. Please assume that your body is your house and you are sitting on the 6th floor of that house behind the eyes. First, establish yourself in the meditation chamber behind the eyes, then visualize your beloved, then start any kind of meditation you want, including Simran, listening to the sound, or conversation with the Master.